Alrighty, it is that time to talk about Hawkeye. So I just got finished playing 4 different games with Hawkeye, and I will say that this has been the most enjoyable hero spotlight for me thus far. That's because Hawkeye was a hero that I didn't play a lot of. I kind of put him away. You know, he came in the Red Skull box. I played a good bit of him when I first got into the game, and he's not the best hero in the world, and so just for some of those reasons, I kind of put him away. I never really thought to get him back out again. And so having the community vote and bringing Hawkeye back to the table, I enjoyed immensely because he is an incredibly fun hero to play. Again, not the best hero, but a really fun hero. So let's dive into it. So his alter ego, I think, is probably the worst alter ego state in the game. There may be some out there that I'm missing, but he has an action where he can spend a resource to go grab his bow, which we'll talk about here in a second. He only has 3 recovery and 9 hit points. He has no cards in his kit that support him going down to his alter ego. So really, once you grab that bow, you don't want to be rolling down. But because he only has 9 hit points, you're probably going to need to roll down. With that being said, I think that's one of the biggest downsides to Hawkeye is how unsupportive he is for being an alter ego, especially because when the villain is scheming, he doesn't handle threat all that well. If he has some special arrows, he can, but he has a 1 thwart on his hero side. So not a good alter ego state at all. I would argue that it's probably the worst in the game. Let's flip up, let's talk about his hero. Again, not super exciting. It's a mediocre stat line at 1-2-1. So really, that thwart being at 1 hurts so much, especially in the solo play. Defense at 1 and having only 9 hit points makes him super squishy. There's no cards in his kit that allow him to increase his health, so you do have to throw like endurance or another card in there, maybe that we haven't seen yet, or an honorary Avenger or something to boost that health up, but there isn't anything in his kit, so he's one of the squishiest heroes as well. He does have an action called Quick Draw, and you can exhaust Hawkeye to ready his bow. And his bow is a 0 cost upgrade, so at least it has that going for him. And it gives him +1 attack, so really his stat line is probably always going to be a 1-3-1 rather than a 1-2-1, because that 0 cost upgrade, you're going to go grab that, because if you don't grab the bow, you're not going to have a good time with 14 out of the 15 cards in his kit. His entire kit is built around this bow. All of the arrows in his kit, which there are 10 arrows, these are events. The part of the cost of the arrow is to exhaust the bow. And so that's why the quick draw allows you to ready up the bow by exhausting Hawkeye, meaning that you can shoot a second arrow in your turn, or a third, fourth, depending if you have the engine to ready up Hawkeye multiple times. Why I don't love this is because you need to exhaust Hawkeye. That means that the opportunity cost of playing a second arrow is 3 attack, minimum, right? So Hawkeye has a 3 attack with his bow on the table. If you exhaust Hawkeye to ready your bow, then you can use your bow to shoot a second arrow, which may be situationally good. It can be very difficult to justify because you are also adding to that cost a 3 attack. Because instead of attacking, you're exhausting to ready the bow. So this could be situationally good with like a vibranium arrow where it deals 6 damage. And so at that point, you have to think about it. You're paying 2 for 3 attack, not 2 for 6 attack, because you are not getting that 3 attack from the basic. So it's a massive price increase for that second arrow, and I usually find myself shooting 1 arrow and then using the attack as the next exhaust. Again, there are probably some niche situations out there where that's not the case, but they're few and far between. Hawkeye is a ton of fun. I will say that. Hawkeye has 10 of these arrows, and he has arrows that deal damage. He has arrows that remove threat. They apply status conditions, deal damage, AoE damage to multiple minions and the villain. And it's so satisfying to be able to have the solution to the problem that's presented to you in arrow form. It's just fun, right? It's fun. The problem is you're not always going to have them, but that's where the quiver comes into play. So Hawkeye's quiver is an upgrade that changes the game for Hawkeye. Once you get Hawkeye's quiver on the table, you're able to exhaust Hawkeye's quiver to search the top 5 cards of your deck for an arrow, attach it to the quiver, and then you can play arrows from the quiver as if they were in your hand. So that allows you to become even more flexible. So if you needed a cable arrow that removes threat, now you can hold one in your quiver and you don't have to just luckily draw into it. Alrighty, so let's talk about some of the basic cards that he has access to. So these are the gray cards that I look to put in almost every single one of my Hawkeye decks. There's only a couple of them. The first one being Endurance. So he has 9 hit points. Endurance increases his hit points by 33%, taking him up to 12 for 1 cost. Absolutely, Hawkeye needs Endurance in his kit. Endurance is one of them. The other one that I really like putting in his kit is Earth's Mightiest Heroes. So this is the 0 cost event that says exhaust an Avenger character you control to ready another Avenger character you control. Because he has this 3 attack base, and you can pump that up with other things, which we'll get into here in a little bit, you can exhaust Avenger allies and then ready Hawkeye. So that also allows you to shoot more arrows if you do want to ready his bow with that, or just allows him to swing. So this can be a pretty fun engine to ready him up to do multiple swings, especially if you've pumped that stat up. As a side note, this is actually probably one of my favorite uses for Blade. He's a 1 cost gray ally, which he costs money every single time you thwart or attack with him. However, if you just use him for Earth's Mightiest Heroes, you're in the clear and you just get to ready and swing for 3. Okay, so let's rank the aspects. We're gonna rank the aspects in terms of how good I think they are in solo play for Hawkeye. When we get to my favorite aspect, I will call that out because it's also fun to talk about my favorite. I think this ranking is going to be a little bit controversial. It's going to be different than what we said, or what the community said on the post that I posted earlier. So I'll show that here on the screen. But it's not going to be the same as what the community has said. So let's dive into it. In 4th place, we have Justice. So Justice does a really good job of complementing one of his biggest weaknesses, which is his low thwarting potential. Cable Arrow is a nice thwart event. It can get past the crisis icon. However, it is situational. You need to have it in your hand. You have to have the bow ready. It is an opportunity cost. All of these things that kind of go in to remove 3 threat. It's really nice, but it is situational. With the Justice events, that allows you to get more access to threat mitigation, allowing Hawkeye to focus on what he can do best. I will also say that Clint has the shield trait, so he does play really well with the shield deck, or the shield archetype, and that's a really fun way to play it. However, Hawkeye in true solo, he can go pretty crazy with the damage. So I have found that when you're playing solo, unless it's a really long game, Hawkeye can almost rush the villain down before scheming out with any of the other aspects, which is why this is in 4th place. It does help if you are in a longer game, say like Thanos or someone with a lot of health, then you do need some threat mitigation, and Justice can complement Hawkeye pretty well there, but I'm pretty sure that Hawkeye, the way that he's going to win is by winning fast before dying or before scheming out. So that brings us into our 3rd place, which is the fastest way to win, which is aggression. So big attacks are fun. Big attacks are incredibly fun. With combat training and his bow, you can pump his attack up to 4, and right there you have a basic attack of 4, which is pretty cool. And then you can have Mean Swing, which is, I think, a really excellent card to include in his kit. Mean Swing says that whenever you attack, you can exhaust a weapon that you control to give yourself +3 attack. So at that point, you're attacking with a 7, which if you don't have an arrow to shoot, then Mean Swing kind of activates as another arrow, right? So you can utilize Mean Swing to give you that plus damage, and a lot of Hawkeye is really trying to figure out where can I most efficiently spend my money, and sometimes a Mean Swing is more efficient than shooting an arrow. And it's just the situation that you're in, but it does allow you that option. If you don't need the Mean Swing, you don't need the Mean Swing, you can use it to pay for an arrow, but I think it just works really well in his kit. The other red event that I think works really well in Hawkeye is Plan of Attack. So this allows you to search the top 4 or 7 cards of your deck. If for some reason you're in a you're an alter ego with Hawkeye, but that allows you to search for attack events, which a lot of your arrows are attack events. So this helps you pull arrows into your hand. It's basically adding another copy of each one of those arrows into your hand, because probably you'll be able to find one in the top 4 or 7 cards, considering how many of them there are in there. So Plan of Attack allows you to kind of fish for those and get them quicker, allowing you to deal more efficient damage. That brings us to our third, and I think this is probably the most controversial of all, especially considering the community ranking. This is actually my favorite as well, so Protection. And this may be my bias again, but I think Protection does a really good job of protecting his hit points, and with a lot of the new cards we have, I call it like the aggressive protection archetype, works really well for Hawkeye. So it gives him access to heal himself, like with What Doesn't Kill Me. So not only are you healing yourself for 2, which is over 20% of his health, it allows you to stand up, allowing you to swing again. So you have a 3 attack, you can play this What Doesn't Kill Me, heals yourself for a significant amount of your health, and then allows you to swing again for 3. You can start building a very quick rush strategy with Protection. Then you combo that with Repurpose to pump up his attack. So I love using energy barriers, which again protects his health, which is probably his most valuable resource because of how little he has and how hard it is to build it back up with that low recovery. So the energy barriers protect that health, and then we can use Repurpose to pump up his attack. So with an energy barrier, you then go to a 5 attack. If you have a What Doesn't Kill Me, you can swing multiple times with a 5 attack, which gets crazy. You can exploit Leading Blow, and all of these that kind of came in, and I think of Drax as being kind of the epitome of this type of archetype for protection. The aggression protection build works pretty well with Hawkeye. I think that this does complement his arrows as well. So if you can get that quiver early, you can start pulling the arrows, and then you can have turns where you are repurposing, standing up and swinging a ton, or you're shooting a lot of arrows. You can really make that decision and flex where you need to be. I really enjoyed the Protection build. I played it in multiplayer as well, and it worked out pretty well. And so I think Protection is kind of the sleeping dragon with some of these old heroes that weren't great in Protection, but you can take it into a new direction and build it into a new archetype. And I'm really liking this whole Repurpose, What Doesn't Kill Me, Leading Blow type style of play for some of these high attack heroes. Alrighty, and finally the top and best aspect for Hawkeye probably is not a surprise to anyone, but that is leadership. So Hawkeye thrives when he has his arrows and he has his quiver, and strength in numbers just allows you to go and draw so many cards, giving you the flexibility to get all of those out there, and also having allies for chump blocking, which again protects his health. Just if you run, I think in my game, I had 6 allies on the table with Triskelion, with Avengers Tower, with Stinger, and strength in numbers to draw 6 cards. At that point, you're going to have so many arrows. You can use Command Team combined with Earth's Mightiest Heroes to ready Hawkeye so that you can shoot arrows. You're going to have the money. You're going to have what tools you need to be successful, and that's kind of the staple of what leadership is. I think Get Up in Game explained it best, where leadership allows you to do what the hero wants to do, and then leadership kind of takes care of everything else. And that's a really good way to look at it. I like that way of looking at it, because Hawkeye really wants to use his arrows, and so this is almost like the textbook definition of what leadership is trying to do. Let the allies do their thing, let them draw you the cards, let them get you the money so that Hawkeye can shoot his arrows. It's not my favorite way to play. It's probably my least favorite of the 4 aspects, but it is a really strong way to play it. So it's easy to build up, protects the HP, allows you to stay in hero form so you don't have to go down to alter ego at any time. But it's honestly, I just don't like it. But here we are. Okay, so let's take a look at his overall hero ranking. So we have our current ranking up here, and this is actually going to be our first C tier hero. So he's going to be C tier right there at the front and back of that C tier. Here we are. So he is hard to get rolling. He's dependent on his quiver. If you don't have that quiver, that's the last card in your deck. It's a feel-bad game. It really is. He's pretty squishy. He's bad an alter ego. He doesn't do... He can do things really well if he has the tools to do it, but you just have to have it. And building, it's just hard. I want him to be, and this is the problem, I want him to be so good. I really like playing Hawkeye. I've found that I've really enjoyed kind of Thor, Hawkeye, some of these heroes that are not necessarily the best, but can fit in a really like specialized game. And Hawkeye just wants to work so well, but he just doesn't. he just doesn't. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. It does go a long way in helping promote the channel and helps me grow. And it does go so very far. It makes me feel good inside. So I would appreciate that. And enjoy Marvel Champions. Hope you love X-Men. Hope you enjoy Hawkeye. If you go back and look at Hawkeye, I hope you enjoy it and that it breathes new life into it like it did for me. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you around. Peace.